Okay, we're getting into the fall holiday season, and I wanted to share some of my favorite foraged finds that I actually found and dried over the cooler, colder months, and how I have incorporated those into arrangements. So, if you are someone who wants to keep being creative, you want to think about cool, budget friendly, sustainable ways to maybe gift give this season, then this is the episode for you. Let's go. Okay, so one of my favorite times of year is honestly the fall. I love when the air gets cooler and crisper, and you can just tell it's like time to start kind of getting cozy, right? I think a lot of us feel that way. So I wanted to share some of my favorite sustainable floral design things that I've used foraging sustainably, and some just tips and tricks to kind of help you get through these colder months and keep being creative with the beautiful nature that is around us. Even if in some areas it's under snow, there are ways to do this. So, to get started, I wanted to quickly just show you how I have incorporated pine cones. I have always loved just picking up pine cones, when I'm on a walk or with the kiddos in our property. And we found these huge pine cones a couple years ago. I've actually used them, in various decorating. But I've always loved a very simple centerpiece for like Thanksgiving, to go even through, honestly, like through October, November, like through the fall months. So like I said, I picked up a whole bunch of these pine cones, and I wanted to share with you just kind of how I arrange them. You could do this in a bowl. I love this like pie platter idea of just like placing them inside this. It doesn't have a huge lip, but I feel like we could make it work. So let's see how it goes. I said I had a lot. Okay. So we're just going to kind of start by placing, I like the smaller ones maybe on top. So I'll place the super like chunkier ones on the bottom as like a base. I love that they can be all in like different directions. My favorite thing is when they still have like pine needles on them. I just think that's so awesome. That like shows that they very much came from nature. They are not from a box store. Oh my gosh. And I just love that this is like a platter of goodness of like fall coziness. I think I need like one more here. Um, and I just think like it doesn't have to be crazy. Woo. And definitely make sure too, like that. That's a good example of like, because if you put it in a bowl, this wouldn't be an issue, but because this has a very low lip, just make sure that wherever you're placing it, you're going to keep it there. Like I wouldn't recommend moving this too much. Um, but let me put this over here. Okay. But I love this like in a little like maybe a nook on a bookshelf, or even in the center of the table with some, like, honestly, you could put like little fairy lights around this, or some beautiful leaves maybe that you find, or berries. I mean, I think this is just so simple, so elegant, looks great every time. You can reuse it forever, for many years. And it's just something like that kind of brings nature inside. So this is definitely something like pine cones. Honestly, if I could, I would just like collect them all. I think they're so lovely. And there's something so grounding about them. So this is my like little pine cone cake pie recipe for you all. Let's go on to the next cool thing that I do in the fall and winter months for sustainable floral design. Okay, so the next thing that I love to do in, like I said, these cooler months where there may not be as many colorful blooms necessarily, but there are plenty of options. I love looking into the future and thinking about, for example, in the spring months, when things like this is pennycress here. I have a couple things intertwined, but this is a beautiful kind of wild filler that we have a lot of here, sometimes even just on the side of the road, that I love to get in when it's like at its tail end in the spring, and you can easily dry things like this, these type of grasses. And so I use these a lot in the cooler months. I love them. They're so effortlessly kind of whimsical. We have swaths of them, at least here. And so I always feel like I can responsibly cut and make sure I'm not cutting, the whole thing, right? I'm not taking the whole plant out. And they'll reproduce, and it's lovely and really fun, a fun option versus, right, getting something trucked or shipped or flown in from somewhere else, right? So similarly, we actually do have really cool grasses here that grow quite a bit. When I have really beautiful like Queen Anne's lace from my garden, there are ways you can even dry little bits like that. Roses dry really well, just hung upside down in a cool, dark place. I have a lot of flowers that I dry upside down just in my studio. And in Florida, it's actually quite hot and humid. So the fact that I can do that means that probably most of you in other places around the country can do that, kind of hang them upside down. And dry them. Hydrangea, this was from my sister's yard up in North Carolina. I cut a few and they dry just naturally, kind of like in the vase, honestly. And so there are lots of things you can do with these, you know, wreath making. I wanted to share a couple things that I've done with similar stems. Here's a great example of some dried seeded eucalyptus that dries so pretty and it just keeps a beautiful shape. But I've actually made some flower crowns that are available on my Etsy shop that I have used with some like beautiful dried leaves that are just stunning for like a fall wedding. And then I also have dried, this is some of that hydrangea and some straw flower, some local straw flower into a flower crown. So I think that these are really pretty ways to incorporate the season year round, right? Like if you're wanting color, you can get it with things like this. Or if you're wanting to have really a nod to that neutral fall tone, you can do that too. So there are options, I feel like, in the fall and winter, and that's what these episodes are all about, right? Every week we want to show you what is possible. How can you think about seasonality, sustainability, and not busting the budget while you're creating something beautiful from nature. So the final thing I wanted to share for this video today with you is just a little bit about what we do have currently in our yard and talk a little bit more about the foraging that we do. We have another video that has kind of our DIY tutorial for how we did these bud vases. So you can check that out. It's all about how to kind of design with bud vases. But I wanted to share specifically about the stems themselves. So for these stems, you probably saw in a past video of ours, if you've been following along for a while, that we actually used these beauty berries in the past when they were more green in the summertime. And now they're this beautiful plum color. I loved finding these in my yard. They're always so beautiful and unique when they do start to bloom throughout the summer and early fall. And then just a lot of really pretty filler that we had here in our yard today as the season kind of comes to an end. So just wanted to share that, you know, this was kind of our fresh flower bounty this time of year. But I will say, as someone who forages a lot, I just wanted to kind of reiterate with a lot of these things that foraging responsibly is always so important, right? So if you are not familiar with where you're foraging, I would not recommend doing it. If you know the area that you're in and that you're legally able to be there, that's totally different. But definitely do your research on what type of plants you're actually getting, because sometimes things can look like one thing but be another and be poisonous or not good. So I've definitely done that a few times, and I'm so grateful I have an app that can identify plants. So I would definitely recommend, you know, looking into that because while this is so fun on so many levels, and I love sharing my thoughts on all of this, you also want to make sure that you're being safe and, you know, wearing boots and going with a friend and not going alone and all those things. Safe in so many ways, right? So I hope that this is helpful. I hope that it's inspiring. That's what my aim is to do here, is just to share with you what I've learned over the years as a florist. I love thinking about decor in general in ways that are sustainable and thrifted and save money. So I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.